So for today's lesson, we're doing 10.3, which has to deal with measurements of chords. And I'm also going to start 10.4 dealing with inscribed angles so that we can split 10.4, do half of it one day, and then tie the other half in with 10.5 on tangents. So basically in these problems, we're going to go with the rule of everything that you think is probably congruent is. So the rule said, we're going to look at number 2 first, that if two chords in a circle are the same length, then they create intercepted arcs, which are congruent. It means that x plus 17 is equal to 4x plus 2. So the first thing I want you to do is problem 2, solve for x. And then, if I ask you for number 2, to plug it back in and give me the measure for each arc. So I would plug 5 in. 5 plus 17 is 22. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So the measure. Now for number 4. I'm going to ask you to find the measure. Problem number 4. I would like the measure of x in degrees. So that's the measure of arc ST. Gotten 161. You should have gotten that ST would be the same measure in degrees as SU, since they're both intercepted arcs created from the same chords. And since this little part here in yellow is not included, 360 minus 38 is 322. And you divide that between the other two arcs, you get 161. I want to find the measure of arc AB. And because this radius is intersecting this chord, I know that AD is congruent to DB. And I know that AB is 60 degrees. And A to C is 71. So if A to C is 71 degrees, that means that C to B is also 71 degrees. That means the measure of the entire arc A to B is 142 degrees. So now you're going to do problem number 10, and you're going to find the length of B to D. You should have gotten 30. If A to B is 60, B to D is just half of that. This is acting as a perpendicular bisector, so just this segment, I'm talking about this segment here, of B to D is 30. We've done problem 8, and I believe the answer for that was 142. We've done problem 10. I believe the answer for that was 30. So we're now going to do problem 11. You're going to need the answer for 11 to do problem 12, hence why I'm doing 11. So I want to find the distance from Y to D. And hopefully you start to see, oh, because there's a 90-degree angle there, I can make a right triangle, and I can use Pythagorean Theorem. And I know that A to D has a length of 30. We just discussed this in the prior problem. So my first question is, what is the length of Y to A? So you should have gotten that the length of y to A is 34, because A is on the endpoint to y, the center, is a radius. I can then set up Pythagorean Theorem, being careful that you're not solving for the hypotenuse. You've gotten the hypotenuse. You're solving for B. So what is the answer? When I plug this all in, 34 squared, because I've done this a bunch, is 1,156. When I do 1,156 and I subtract 900, I get 256. If b squared equals 256, the square root is 16. Problem 13. I want to find x. I have chord VW and I have chord ZY. I know that VW has to be equal in length to chord ZY because the two chords are the same distance, 8 units, from the center of the circle. So I'm going to take the 20 equal to the 5x. I'm going to divide by 20 and I get x is equal to 4. So my question is, how did I know that I could set these two equal to each other? I also talked briefly in class today about inscribed angles and intercepted arcs, and I'm going to go through a few of those problems. First of all, I want to review what is the relationship between an arc created by an inscribed angle. And the relationship is that the arc measures twice the inscribed angle. Or you could say the inscribed angle is half the measure of the arc. Remembering of arc, that measurement means measure in degrees. By the way, what is the definition of an inscribed angle? You should have said it is an angle with a vertex on the circle. And again, what is the measure of what is the definition of a central angle? You should have said a central angle has a vertex at the center of the circle. So back to our problem here, for problem number 1. What is the measure in degrees of arc XY? You should have said 46, because 46 is 2 times 23. I also want to know in this one, number 3, what is the measure of angle R? Well, I can find the measure in degrees of arc QS by doing 360 minus 120 minus 140, and I get that arc QS is 100 degrees, but I'm asked for the measure of angle R. Since it's an inscribed angle, it's 50 degrees.